Whoops! Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night to those of you uh, after that flub listening to the show. If you don't know any better, but thank you for partaking here in the Odyssey Files. I'm your host, O'Neill. Welcoming back to the show, Mr. Anthony Hernandez. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Anthony.
We're just covering all the bases now, huh?
I've already screwed up, and this show's only like a minute in.
So
let's just throw caution to the wind.
Okay.
Couple things. So it has been cloudy and rainy here in Minnesota for like the last week. I don't think I've seen the sun. I don't know, since May, but and that has been proving to make my internet a little spotty. So
okay.
I'm hoping I keep seeing my connection is unstable, but I see that every once in a while during every show, and nothing really happens. So we'll see. So please be patient with us if something does go wrong in that instance. I honestly do not know if I disappear, if the whole show disappears, or if you're able to continue on and I just have to come back. I don't know. It's never happened during like an actual live show, so I have not encountered what actually happens during that. The other thing that I would like to say before we start our amazing episode this week is Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, biological, step, foster, single, doesn't matter. I don't care if you're even just a father figure. Happy Father's Day to all those people who take care of their business. Dads get a bad rap, especially in this day and age, and so I always have to include the who take care of their business. Because Chris Rock did a great bit on how nobody gives an F about daddy, and it's so true. But
here's your tie.
Yes. Dave, at least right now that I know of, will be back next week. So
awesome.
Anthony and I have put together an amazing show for maybe his final run. I don't know. With Dave's medical issues and everything, it kind of one of those I'll believe it when I see it type of things. So Anthony, you're now on call after this week. If obviously you want to come back, that's
that's fine.
It's volunteer position. So our show topic today, an interesting one. Something that again I'd never heard of, and I get, and it's another religious thing. So that's probably why I have not and do not do any sort of research into like the Catholic Church and religious type stuff, even though I should, because it's exceptionally interesting type of stuff.
I was gonna say there's a lot of good information and stuff there. I mean, even if you're not coming at it from a purely religious point of view, there's still good information there.
Well, I mean, and I have to keep in mind that regardless of how my own personal beliefs and faith are, the Catholic Church in general, and just specifically, has been a part of history, for thousands of years. I don't, maybe not thousands, but I mean, a very, 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 very long time.
It's been there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been there. I mean, it's yeah, it's since obviously Roman times, which I guess this does and does not our topic today kind of hits Roman type stuff
Ish.
as a
Yes.
ish, it's kind of Roman adjacent maybe. Um, Despite the fact obviously that the Vatican is in Rome, but so I had never heard of the prophecy of the popes until you brought it up. And apparently it's a thing, so much so that like people, and I obviously have not read any of those books, nor do I plan to. my my research came off of your research,
Research.
but uh, and so uh, right from the start, and if we don't get to everything about the prophecy, you can go and listen to Anthony's uh, podcast about it, Crossroads of the Veil, um, and listen to everything. But let's start with the prophecy itself,
Okay.
and why don't you explain what exactly the prophecy is?
So the prophecy basically is basically the kickoff to the end times. They're saying in the final days of the Roman of the church that there's going to be a pope that will be named either named or was named Peter, and he'll take up being the pope, and that will lead to the ultimate destruction of Vatican City and basically the beginning of the end times, the kickoff for the Antichrist. And there's even some stuff in there that talks generically about him basically ushering in the Antichrist.
Fair enough. And so Saint Malachi is a saint from back in. I think he did. I think he's the one that authored this prophecy, based back in what 1590. I think is what it
uh,
was.
1139 is when he's attributed to having the visions in Rome and seeing those things.
1139.
Yeah.
Well, garbage. I only say that because it just blew up my theory. All right, though.
Oh,
It's all right. I still
what
go ahead.
I was going to say, what was your theory? Now
We'll
I'm
talk about
curious.
that. We'll talk about that later
Okay.
when we get in, because we haven't even explained what the theory would have been based on. So let's get there first.
Okay.
So Saint Malachi back in, what'd you say,
1139 he visits
11?
Rome, and he has, or he's, it's said that he had these visions that basically prophesies the, I won't say the next 113 because it's ambiguous in the fact that there could be some missing from the predictions, but basically he goes over 113 or 115, I forget the exact number.
112.
112. And he basically, these are going to be popes that come, and this Peter the Roman would be the last, and that would kick off basically the end times. That would be the event.
Judgment Day, Armageddon.
Yes.
And not the we're sending people to blow up an asteroid type
No.
of Armageddon.
No, definitely not the sci-fi one.
Yes, Ben Affleck is not coming to save us all, I assure you. So he writes down 112 ways in which you'll be able, these popes. But, and this is, again, and this is one of the things that really ticked me off about this, and why I'm going to fight so hard to throw out everything that he has to say. It is that each one of these things that he writes down about these future popes, it's like 2 or 3 words in Latin, and that's it.
Yes.
And right away, as I'm listening to this, and as I'm going over this and finding this out, I snap directly back to, and hold on, let me pause here for a second and say, like, these aren't like 2 to 3 words that are like Pope Francis the Third or whatever. Like, he's not naming names as to who they're like. It. What are some of them? Because I know you have some written down, like, and they're all in Latin, which I hate. So let's do the English version.
Let me see. Where's a good one? I don't want to give. I have some of the ones highlighted, but there are ones that I don't want to give away. A lot of them would be like, he's from the three Tibers, and it's Latin for three Tibers, which is the rivers, and it basically, up until a point, it's pretty spot on, but then after a certain point, it kind of goes very vague and off the wall. Like, instead of being this person is from the Tibers, born in the sign of the eagle, so like Roman times and stuff like that, it goes to he's from the old city, and even more vague references in there to where it's like, well, okay, well, you can get this person to fit that particular motto, but it's really hard and really reaching for it. And some of them it doesn't even really fit, if you ask me. But it kind of puts those out there and stretches them to their limits.
Right. And so, I'm sorry, go ahead if you weren't finished.
I was going to say, no, it comes off rather suspiciously with some of them.
Well, right. And see that, and that's what made me so aggravated with this, is it goes directly back to what we were just talking about a couple weeks ago with the lady.
Yes.
Like, everything has to be vague and cryptic and open to interpretation. And it's like, dude, if you're going to say that God is giving you premonitions to help the people of the world, the humans, try to maybe avoid or at least have a heads up, why would you do it in such a vague and this asinine way? Like, that just doesn't fit with me. And
I was going to say, one of the things that struck me when I was reading about all this and looking into it, because it was brought up to me, and I was like, well, I've never really dug into it. I said, but I told them when they asked me about it, I thought it was going to be a certain way, and kind of played out the way that I thought it would. Because, the first thing that came to my mind, well, okay, if the final pope is Peter the Roman, and this leads to the end times, simple enough fix. No Peter the Roman ever is going to be a pope after this. Done.
Yeah, exactly. And that, like, it just seems like it would have to be so easy to get away from it, because and this is the question I asked you before the show, because I wasn't clear on if he wrote them down in order, or if you could attribute, number 47 on his list to Pope Francis, who, by the way, was the 112th Pope.
Yes.
And your answer was about as cliche as I expected, which was it's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
And people, I guess, have been trying to even outdo that. Like, they're trying to keep it going now that, especially now that we're past the 112th Pope, because Pope Leo, who's our current Pope, is now 113.
Yeah, and there was some stuff with Pope Leo where they were trying to say, well, his name came from, yeah, I can't remember what his the name he was born under was, but basically they were trying to say that his full legal name could be considered a nickname for Peter, and I was like, that's kind of, y'all are reaching for this stuff.
How do you have a nickname for Peter?
It's
Like
like
Peter's
Bob
your
or
nickname.
Richard. Yeah,
No, I get that, but
yeah,
n- nobody like goes to anybody. Who's like, hey, do you have a nickname? He's like, yeah, it's Peter. No, that
yes,
Peter is a name, not a nickname. So
correct.
even if he was born, you know, Richard, Richard Michael, whatever his last name is, I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
Um, you're not going to have a nickname of Peter. I'm sorry.
no,
Although there was when I was looking up some extra stuff this morning, I didn't watch it, but there was a YouTube video. It was like Pope Leo considers, declares himself a Roman, and I'm like, no, he doesn't. I'm like, just no, stop. No, he doesn't.
I tell
Um,
you, there's some pretty interesting twists that people try to attribute some of these people back to the prophecy, because I would imagine that related to the prophecy, right? So they're trying to say that he was a Roman and
I mean,
this and that. Yeah,
it was mixed in with everything. Like I said, I didn't watch it because I wasn't interested. Um, typically, I know a lot of people when they see like outrageous crap like that, like, oh, I got to see what his arguments are, or they, oh, I got to get a hold of, I got to get some of that. And it's like, no, I don't have time for that garbage. Um, but he, here's my thing, and this again goes to the interpretation, which, like the Bible, has been done over and over and over again. Um, is honestly to me this Saint Malachi is the father of the Ovilus, the paranormal thing that just spits out words,
words. Yes.
because like this is ancient Ovilus stuff right here. It's so vague, and I've seen it happen during investigations when I've actually used the Ovilus, which I will never again. I don't It was one of the greatest like sell-offs of my entire paranormal career is when somebody bought off the Ovilus 3 that I had. I despise that advice because no matter what it spits out, and I don't know if you've encountered this yourself or not, uh, people take it and they do everything in their power to attribute it to what they're trying to do.
Well, it's trying to
So,
twist it to what you want it to say, which,
well,
yeah,
right. I mean, I have been in an opera house up in a dance studio, like a ballet type dance studio, with people who have never used the Ovilus before and they're using it. And the word that came out was like roses. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, did you get roses after a perform? No, shut up. That has nothing to do with nothing. Relax. I think the word brown came out or something like that. And they tried to ask questions. No, it's just spitting out garbage. And that's to me is what each of these are, is they're so vague and so short. And I mean, what was it? What about the Tiber, from the Tiber or something like that?
yeah, from the Tiber he will come, or from the Tiber with the eagle rising or something like that. It was the motto for it, and it was like, well, it was because he was born from the Tiber River area during the time of the Romans, which considered the eagle to be a sacred animal. And yeah,
So we're talking about a couple million people.
yeah,
Well, maybe not a million, but I mean not at that time.
a
But
large pop.
a large
Mhm.
population, and I'm assuming that's by Rome.
Yes.
You don't have to go far to find your pope. I mean, that's so easy to attribute that to a specific person. Oh, this pope is that must be the prophecy. I mean, and now, according to you, and I guess I didn't look into this enough is now, instead of being in order or being like the first 112 popes, now all of a sudden it's, oh, well, this one is attributed to Pope number 100, but the next one down, well, that's a Pope 114. There's popes in between them now, so we can go
Yeah,
up to Pope 420 before we get to Peter the Roman.
Yeah, because basically how 112 or whichever number it was equated to Francis, or Francis happened to meet the requirements for that to be his motto. Basically, they're saying, well, there could be stuff in between those. So just because it doesn't go 112, it could be 118 before the next one comes around, and it's his motto and his place in that line. And it's like, yeah, it seems kind of convenient.
Here's the other thing this reminded me of. Besides the Ovilus, it reminded me of the Mayan calendar.
Oh yeah.
I mean, everybody thought that as soon as the Mayan calendar ended, that's just because the Mayans saw the death of the world. And after the Mayan calendar ended, the world was going to end because that's why they stopped it there. And that was what, 25 years ago?
Yeah.
I can't even remember when it ended.
And don't get me wrong, I like a lot of the prophecy stuff that's out there, but a lot of it is so vague and so widespread where it can have so many meanings. And it's I want to, they're done that way on purpose. They're done that way so that it will affect or get the most people drawn into it, trying to figure out what it is when it's so broad and it fits so much in there. It's really not anything to me. I don't think it's anything really useful other than someone put a lot of work into making something that tricks a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. So I want to say this, God, if you're listening, try being a little bit more specific. Like, say the white man will come who has a birthmark in the shape of Jesus's beard, and that will be Peter the Roman. Very specific. You can go with that. And honestly, who gives a rat's caboose about the other 111? I don't care about the first 111 popes. I care about 112, who's going to be called Peter the Roman. I'm sorry. That's the one that bothers me. I couldn't care less. So why don't you just focus on that, Saint Malachi? Like, why the whole 112? Why not just say there will come a pope named Peter the Roman who will end all days?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a lot more to the point, and to me mean more than you got to wait for all these other people to come through. And it's so ambiguous that it's just out there.
And the thing that which I thought I had for a second, is I thought that St. Malachi was riding on the coattails of Nostradamus. And
go check out his library. He's got
prophecy business. Yeah, well, I doubt that. But, so I was looking at Wikipedia and stuff, and it said that like this hadn't been published until 1595. And I'm like, because Nostradamus was 1555. And then you had to go and ruin it and be like, no. He was like 400 years prior to Nostradamus. So that was disappointing.
Yeah.
But fair. But I still hold my theory that he is the father of the Ovilus.
You want me to
father of,
take the turn or the twist that the Dan Brown twist that's in there?
I do.
So
I do.
The person who wrote Saint Malachi's biography and basically his life and times was his best friend, who happened to be another saint, Saint Bernard. Saint Bernard never mentions any of these prophecies ever. So never touches on this. And he was with him when he went to Rome. And this never comes up in any of Saint Bernard's writings.
That's because Saint Bernard was like, you crazy, man. Like, this makes no sense. like this is the difference between like Dave and I. Like Dave would write down all that, and I'd be like, you're stupid for for
Yeah.
believing this, right? It, like that seems to be like what it would. Doesn't mean I wouldn't write Dave's biography, but I wouldn't embarrass him by by
Putting those things
writing
in there.
by
Well,
putting his crazy word. Go ahead.
well, supposedly when he was there, when he wrote all this stuff down, he gave it to Pope Innocent II. Pope Innocent II saw it as a major problem and basically took it to the archives and Ark of the Covenant and basically hid it away, and then it pops back out in the 16th century basically.
And now that I'm done skimming, uh that's what the 1590 and the 1595 were, was when it was published. As
Yes.
I spaced on the fact that it sat for 450 years in it. And you know what, maybe that's why it wasn't in St. Bernard's book. Maybe the Pope Innocent looked at it and was like, you know what, you don't need to write anything about that. Otherwise bad things might happen to you. God doesn't want you to do that. Which would be the complete hypocrisy of it, of somebody saying, I received these messages from God, and then having the Pope be like, you don't want to paint that. God doesn't want you to do that. Well, then what? And people are like, oh, well, okay. Like, that's just, I don't know.
Well, and you got to figure if the Pope did say he didn't want that out there and he's speaking with the authority of God, then they're obviously going to listen to that. But
Well,
there's still more. There's still more Dan Brown to go.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Pope Innocent II, is that what it was? Pope Innocent II?
Yeah. He declares it something that needs not be out in the public and not be viewed even by people within the church. So he hides it away in the Vatican archives.
Right,
the story
right in between the bills. Yep.
Yeah. So we jump forward to the 16th century, which is 1557. There is a gentleman that I will butcher his name if I try to say it, Onfrio, writes a book of the heraldry of basically all the popes and prominent people in the church. This is their mottos. This is their basically, like, he came from Tiber. He came from it's all this talk. So he basically puts it out there. He puts a few things that were wrong in the publication when he did it. Skip forward to 1590, which is the next conclave, which is when this prophecy really comes out and gets found and put out there. And basically all the popes, all the prophecy up to like the 1590s is spot on. For some reason, they nail the pope that it was going to be, with like, yes, he came from this region. Yes, he was known for this, and this nails to this pope. Well, after that, it kind of gets blurry and kind of goes off script. But during the conclave, one of the people who's up for election to be pope happens to fit the bill for that next pope that's supposed to come around. And his is the one from the old city, basically, and it met who they said the pope was going to be, which it was a cardinal at the time. And I'm not going to even try to pronounce the Latin part of it, but it basically means from the old city. And this was the Cardinal Girolamo. And basically,
your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, and basically he was in the running to be pope, and this was supposed to show him as the person who was supposed to be picked, which didn't happen, by the way. He did not get picked.
So here's the other thing. The other question that I have. Let's say, for sake of argument, that St. Malachi got these premonitions. They were correct. He wrote them all down in the best way he could, put it out there. Pope Innocent II hid it away. which I don't know why you would do that. And because if you didn't believe it, then you would just burn it. You tear it up.
Yeah.
You throw it in the trash. You'd be like, you're crazy for thinking this. This has no business being here. You should be burned at the stake. And you know what? Since I have the power to do it, you'll just be executed tomorrow. I'm wondering if he wanted it to happen. And that's why he hid it, so that nobody could know about it. Because and this is the end to it. Once people did find out about it and they started seeing all these patterns doing, you just shifted off of it. I mean, how easy is that?
True.
I mean, if the clue to a pope is he comes from the Western lands, let's just be vague and whatever, then uh, that could be Pope Francis because he came from South America. That could
Yeah.
be Pope Leo because he came from America, the Western lands. We could attribute that, which also means if we knew that that was what this prophecy said, we just wouldn't elect a pope from the Western lands.
Oh,
And
yeah,
now all
that
of a
goes back
sudden,
to
and so I'm wondering if once this prophecy was found and realized that things were going step for step, if they started to become vague or not attributed to certain popes, it's because we got off that path.
I mean, that's definitely a possibility, and that's one of the things that has kept it around and keeps people looking at it, is that uh, there's not really a concrete, you know, his fingerprints are not on there, other than the fact that some of these things kind of point to a suspicious direction of it, but it doesn't totally discredit it. It doesn't, there's nothing that totally confirms it or totally discredits it. There's just things that look suspicious and out of place. But most, at least for most of the prophecies, they're kind of so vague that it's frustrating, because there's so much that you could be like, oh, well, tomorrow is going to be the day. And then if it doesn't happen, well, because this didn't happen, and now we need to wait for this other thing to happen before tomorrow comes again.
And that was that was one of my things for the lady in our Chris Bledsoe episode, was that, I mean, you have such vagueness and so many people who want to interpret it their own ways that they'll just maybe make a mistake and then, oh, well, now we have to recalculate, the whole end of the world thing. The end of the world thing, I don't know why everybody wants to calculate it. Like everybody is just ready for the end of the world for some reason.
I was going to
And
say, yeah, you have the temple rebuilding of the Temple Mount thing. That's in Israel. That's one of the prophesized things out there that start, if they rebuild that, that's supposed to kick off that's supposed to start the end of days also. So it's like, that's why that's never been touched, apparently, or supposedly.
yeah, you know what? I failed with the whole Fisto thing. I don't know how. I don't know how, but I did. But I'm going to start a new thing. I'm going to start. If you eat kale for every meal, that's going to be the start of the apocalypse.
Oh,
Like
it'll eventually get there, or it's getting there.
everybody is just going to turn into sludge if they eat kale all the time. It's, if you don't want somebody to do something, and honestly, that's like a politician's go-to play, is if you don't want somebody to do something, create a humongous fear against it.
Oh yeah.
And so if somebody doesn't want that temple or whatever to be built, connect it to the end of days. If you don't want a politician to be elected, connect him to, killing puppies.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. If you create fear and you create hatred towards something, nobody's going to want it done. And I don't know if I can't say that was St. Malachi's goal. I doubt it was, but it definitely seems to be something that happens a lot nowadays. Nowadays, people interpret everything to fit their own needs.
Well, instead of looking at the facts, everyone's trying to everyone's trying to get what they think it means to mean that and fit it in that box. And it's like, you can't do that. It doesn't work that way. The facts are the facts. And like, you just can't, it would be convenient, but it doesn't work. It's just not the truth.
Right. And I 100% agree with you. But that just seems to be the go-to play. It is, I've been seeing a lot of shows lately. Maybe not a lot of shows, but I've seen multiple episodes of shows, of different shows, who are using the phrase "fake it till you make it."
Oh yeah.
And that seems to be not and not Saint Malachi. I'm not saying that this guy had any sort of ill intentions whatsoever. I'm talking about the people now who are trying to attribute his prophecies to fit whatever narrative they are trying to do. Is that seems to be like their motto is
I could see that.
fake it and lie until everybody believes it.
Some of them, I think, just like I think like the chaos of what it kind of brings up and basically gets everyone thinking or gets everyone scared at that particular time. Like, oh, this is it. This is when it's going to happen. And some of them may actually, I think there's a small portion of people that actually would be like, no, put the temple together. No, let's elect Peter. Let's see what happens. And
yes, exactly. Let's see what happens. And honestly, and this has nothing to do with the prophecy whatsoever. I see it in the paranormal all the time.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's just they want to bring that chaos to it when it isn't there or doesn't need to be there. Like there's already enough chaos in the world without adding more to it.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I'm here's what I'm going to say. And if you have anything about this prophecy that you want to talk about, we absolutely can. But to me, what this prophecy is, it might have at some point been accurate, and maybe it is. Maybe his first pope thing, even though they could find it, attributed to certain popes, maybe it doesn't start till Pope 200. I don't know. I think probably at some point in time, this might have been pretty accurate. Whether he was a prophet, whether he was sent it by the divine, I don't know. Maybe he was somebody who had the gift of time travel in astral projection to the point where he actually could travel through time and saw these things happening. Maybe that was what his destiny was. But I think at some point in time, we have now veered off that path. Yeah. Which is good. Because obviously the end was boom, everybody's dead. And honestly, I don't know how that could happen without like the technology that we have today. So honestly, Pope Francis was a good end pope. I mean, because he lives in the time where when we have when we have the technology to obliterate ourselves.
Oh yeah. Easy.
Exactly. I mean, if he would have been like, oh, the 10th Pope is the one that does it, how? I mean, there's probably, 200,000 people in the entire world. We haven't even explored the entire world. We don't even know what's here. We're not going to obliterate ourselves. We don't have the means to do so.
Unless they probably would have attributed it to something like the plague or something like that at that back then.
But still, I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess the question is, does the world explode or does everybody just die?
I think that depends on your belief.
and everybody can believe.
Fiery ball, or there are 4 dudes on a horse.
Maybe that's all it takes. But again, that's plague, it's war.
Yes.
That is everything that would take us out.
Yes.
In one way or another. I don't foresee that happening. I think we got off that path a long time ago, which is good. Like I said, so honestly, what it was is kind of irrelevant. Like I said, I don't care about the other 111 popes.
Yeah,
I care about number 112. I care about 111, 12. Or 112, not 11, 12. But yeah, I mean, what is your take on everything? Because I mean, I know you kind of go at it as a much more analytical type sense.
I'm saying that it was all forged and faked and stuff like that. I think he could have seen what he said he saw, and it could have presented it to the Pope, and he could have decided that this is too dangerous. People, this knowledge is not for everybody, and lock it away. And as people lost track of it and other people found it, it could have come back out. And I am definitely not above thinking that someone tried to use it to their advantage to gain political power within the church. So I think that could be just a point that they tried to exploit it. And going forward, there's still, I mean, even after Leo's thing, there's still people that believe this is going to be like, we're going to get a pope named Peter, and that's going to be it. Then Rome is going to be on fire. The Antichrist is coming, and it's going to be the end. And it's like, don't elect Peter. I mean, to me, that's like the most simplest thing there. Be like, what's your name? Peter? You're from where? Nope, you can't be it. Sorry. Next.
Is that even an option? Because you have Pope Innocent, you have Pope Leo, you have Pope Francis. I don't even know if there is a Pope Michael. Is there actually an option to be Peter the Roman?
Yeah, he could definitely take the name Peter. I mean, it's not their given name that they take when they become Pope.
Right.
So he could do it, but that kind of, I don't know, are you trying to self-fulfill a prophecy at that point? Because like, why would you pick that name if there's only been one Peter before, and that's the beginning of the founding of the church, and there's this prophecy out there that says that if there is a Pope Peter after that basically it's going to bring about the end of days. So that's kind of, I don't know, tempting fate, rebuilding that temple, all these little things that you're just playing with that fire that don't need to be.
Has there ever been a Pope Peter?
No, I don't think so. I think there's just Peter from the Bible and the basis for the church. But I don't believe there was a Pope Peter ever yet.
Well, you might want to retire that name.
Yes. That's why I said you get rid of that Peter and like you're done.
So you can pick any name that you want, and then you just put Pope in front of it.
Yeah.
So if a guy named Michael chooses Pope Michael, that would be okay.
Yeah. I think there's rules for the names, but Michael, I believe, is one of the ones that would be okay.
I thought it had to be a name of a saint. Was the list of names that popes could choose? It had to be the name of a saint.
That could be. I mean, I'm not 100% on that, so I would be lying if I said it had to be a saint or didn't have to be, because I'm not sure. I don't remember a Saint Leo, but I could be wrong.
I've never heard of a Pope Leo, but apparently there's been a couple of.
Yeah. So.
There's a Saint Leo. What would make him choose Leo? Leo.
I'm assuming it's based off of basically the characteristics from the previous one that was named Leo, but
I know he had a reason for it. Yeah, it was some sort of tribute to another Pope Leo. I don't know which one, because it didn't interest me. But huh, well, I mean, everybody's able, obviously, to choose whether they believe it or not. And if you want to look more into it,
Correct.
there's a lot of good stuff on it, and there's a lot of garbage on it. You know, like I
Definitely.
said, the whole YouTube video, Pope Leo declares himself a Roman. No, no, he doesn't. Shut up. Uh,
And
Nobody from Chicago is going to declare themselves Roman. He'll
well, yeah,
never
there
be
was
able to return home again.
yeah, I was gonna say there was some talk that because that made him unique is because he was gonna be the first one from America that was gonna, and here's Peter, and I was like, again, with the reaching and the crazy stuff. It's like I said, I don't know, most of the prophecy stuff is just so far out there or so generic that it just fits too much, too many boxes that you could put in there to make it fit whatever you want to when it shouldn't.
No, no, it shouldn't. Um, yeah, I welcome anybody to write in if you guys want to, give your 2 cents on what you believe. Um, so we have 12 minutes left. I would like to, unless there's something more you want to talk about prophecy.
No, we can switch.
Yes, no. Okay,
Yeah, we can
okay.
switch.
There, there, there was another video of yours that I started by accident, but listen to the first, but listen to the first couple minutes of it.
Okay.
Instantly disagreed with everything that you were saying. Uh, but I mean, I did listen more, and you
Okay.
kind of, uh, it was one of those things uh, that you were throwing out one side of it at first, and then obviously you went to the other side later. And
Yes.
and so and that is the liminal hours, or what people know as the devil hour, the devil's hour, the witching hour, the whole 3 a.m. thing. And I hate the 3 a.m. thing. Uh, but what interested me, and I was going to tell you about it, but you kind of drew it back in, is you originally said that the witching hour was between 3 and 5. And I'm like, well, you can't have a witching hour and have it be 2 hours long.
Correct.
Plus, I never heard the whole 3 to 5 thing, like, ever. It's 3 to 4. I mean, and you could. What was interesting to me, though, and you'll have to, maybe I just didn't get to that part of the thing, but you said most of the people, what'd you say, between like 3:04 and like 3:51 or something like that. Like, it was some weird ass time,
Numbers.
like specific. It wasn't 3 to 4. It was like 3:03 to the 3:51. And I'm curious how, like, in your research, how you came to that number, or what made you like shrink it down to that.
Well, those were a lot of the times that you would get a lot of the stories and stuff are out there or around those times. And so basically, and it's even happened to me in the past, and I've woken up and even I found myself, because I've watched all the horror movies and done all this and all that, you kind of set yourself up and you're like, it's the devil or it's a demon, and like, no, it's what you bring to that time. It's like it really, that's like the worst thing that you could possibly do, and that was just me growing up where that happened. So I mean, I get it now, and to me it's not a bad thing. It's what your intention and what you bring to it. So I mean, if you wake up and you're expecting to see something dark and evil and bad, your mind's going to start filling in them blanks for you with what you're expecting, I think, which is where a lot of that comes from. But and other traditions, and I did start with I guess the cliche, it's the devil's hour, and these are the times that you're going to get all this bad stuff. Because ironically, the same person asked me about this that asked me about the Pope. And I was like, no, it's what you bring to it. I used to freak myself out about that too. I was like, I forget which movie it was, but there was specifically a movie that was like, you wake up at 3 o'clock and you smell a burning smell. And unfortunately, I smell things sometimes. So for me to wake up and smell cigarette smoke or some sort of tobacco-ish type smoke is not totally uncommon. So you watch a movie that says you wake up at this time, you smell a burning smell, and it's basically this demon that's waiting for you to open the door and let something in. And I'm like, oh hell no, the house is gonna have to be on fire before I get out of bed at this point now. So that freaked me out for a little while, and then kind of came to the realization that that's just silly stuff. That's just people getting themselves worked up and hyped and in that mind frame when you wake up and freaking yourself out. And looking deeper into it, you find out that the other traditions that are out there, the Buddhists and the Sikhism and Tao and all that other stuff, these are sacred hours because they say that this is the time when your mind is kind of at its most open to that particular thinning of the veil, for a better lack of a better term for it, and when you're most able to communicate with the other side. Now, that's from a spiritual side of it. On the science side of it, that's also the time when your cortisol is starting to kick up, your melatonin is dropping off, and your neuroplasticity in your mind is basically at its peak. So these are, I mean, science-wise, it's going to be the best time for you to experience something, be it positive or negative. If you're open to it, this is the time when it's probably going to happen. And I've since all that stuff happened, I don't wake up really at 3 a.m. I can sleep through that now without any problems. I do typically wake up about 5 for work and stuff like that. So there is kind of a moment of reflection about 5 that I try to do. And it's good. It's a good routine. And I don't have any of those negative things happen because I don't expect them. At least I don't. I think that's kind of where that comes from. And the intention is not to experience something negative or something bad at that point in the morning.
I get everybody's belief in spiritualism and everything. Totally respect it. But I got to the point in your episode where you were giving out the scientific facts, and I'm like, like magnifique. And then you're like, but, and I'm like, no. I'm like, shut up! You just proved the science version of it. And Dave and I go back and forth in this, even on the show, about sleep paralysis.
Oh yeah.
I just, anytime I read any story, I'm like, scientifically proven that you're in, a dream state and you wake up, but your body is not with you. And you even said during yours, which I thought was amazing, was the whole, scientific reason for sleep paralysis. Your body paralyzes you so you don't act out your dreams.
Yeah, you don't hurt yourself.
Well, everybody can everybody can get behind that. But nobody can, or I shouldn't say nobody, a lot of people can get behind the fact that if you wake up so suddenly, for whatever reason, that, your body, is behind in that. And so you're still paralyzed. And I can completely get behind that. And of course, you went in a way technical version of it, or technical way of it. But I was like, yeah, old hag syndrome, where you see that old woman standing at the end of your bed and you see, the dark figure. Love the whole Hat Man reference, by the way. You said you see a black figure with a hat in the door. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, throw that in there. But I mean, if you see something negative, and God forbid, when you can finally move, you see that it's 3:13 in the morning. You obviously just got visited by a demon. No, slow down. No, you didn't.
And
You
that
know, and so
oh, might have lost you. Not sure if you're there, Mike. Okay. All right. So one of the things I was going to say about that is it is really what you bring to that time. Are you there?
holy crap! Did you just?
Are you there?
I'm back. Yeah, yeah. No,
Okay.
I'm here. My internet dropped.
I
So
think I
did you
was
just?
still live.
I hope
There
so.
was some dead silence, which I was like, "Oh, this is fun." I was like, "I can't imagine how you continue this by yourself," but okay.
Well, usually I just end the show.
Oh,
Um, nope, back. So apparently
okay.
that was actually
That's what
ended a lot.
happens.
Okay, well then I guess we'll see in the final stages if you're actually able to continue talking. Um,
Yeah,
so
there's
yeah,
your
okay.
test.
Well, good. Um, I have no idea what you said, but I agree with
I,
it.
I was gonna say I've actually had one episode of sleep paralysis myself, and it was freaky. I mean that's the best way that I can put it out there. And I didn't discredit. I kind of went back a little bit because I didn't want to diminish someone's experience with that stuff. I didn't want to. I, I, I mean, like I said, most of it, you definitely, it's sleep paralysis. It's your hormones and stuff are going in and out of whack. And if you're expecting some freaky stuff, then you might get it. So I again, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. But I didn't want to discredit other people's things because I mean, I definitely don't think every single one of those could be something that's scientific. I think there could be something else there, but majority of it is just overthinking. And I do blame a lot of the paranormal shows for putting a lot of that stuff out there because I think they freak people out with some of those things. Definitely the horror movies do, but that's on a purpose, and you kind of know what you're getting into when you go see those things.
Even now, like even with my experience and my knowledge and how long I've been in a thing, when if I go to Cena with like a dream or something that I've had that I'm like, what does this even mean? Even now, she asked me, what were you watching on TV before you went to bed? So I mean,
I was gonna
it,
say a
it
lot of times it plays into it.
it does. It absolutely does. Um, well, anyway, I do have something that I'm gonna talk to you about off the air about this. We didn't get time
Okay.
because we're at an hour. Um, if Dave is back next week, I want to thank you very much
Mhm.
for coming on and for bringing these topics because like I said I never heard of them. I never would have talked about the prophecy of the popes ever unless we're about to have the end of days. And
It
even
was
then I'm sure Dave would have been the one to bring it to me because I just wouldn't have paid any attention.
I'm sure you would have been excited. We got Pope Peter, and you'd be like, okay, what does that mean?
Okay, great. Good for him. Yeah, I never would have. And then somebody would have had to been like, well, supposedly he's supposed to bring about the end of the world. I'm like, of course he is.
Okay.
That's because who isn't anymore? Um, but no, thank you,
Oh, you're welcome.
wholeheartedly for coming on, and maybe we'll see you next week.
Okay.
depends on depends on if Dave is feeling up to it and whatnot. Um, so yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen next week, but we'll be back, or I will anyway. Um, who my co-host is, I have no idea, but we will find out together. But until then, again, go and check out all of Anthony's videos over Crossroads of the Veil. Uh, I don't think that you will be disappointed in anything other than the AI voice.
Yeah, that's the only negatives.
It is. So, all right. Until next time, stay healthy, stay safe. Everyone have a great weekend and a great Father's Day to all the fathers out there.